Comrade Kamala, that's the focus of tonight's angle.
We are not going back. We are not going back.
She actually wants us to go back, well, to the 1970s. She's not content with just the inflationary misery of the Carter era. Kamala wants the crippling shortages that went along with it.
It will be my day one priority to fight to bring down prices, to take on the big corporations that engage in illegal price gouging.
Oh, she's tough. She's going to take on those companies. Well, what does that mean?
Now Kamala is reportedly proposing communist price controls. She wants price controls. They actually have the exact opposite impact and effect. But it leads to food shortages, rationing, hunger, dramatically more inflation.
He's 100% right, of course. Kamala will tomorrow propose the first ever federal ban on corporate price gouging in the food and grocery industries, and claiming that there's a big difference between fair pricing in competitive markets and excessive prices unrelated to the cost of doing business. Well, that's spoken like a true Bernie Sanders socialist. Now, add free market economics to the list of topics that Harris apparently just cannot comprehend. Now, why are prices high as compared to, say, 2019? Was there no corporate greed 4 years ago? Well, prices are high because the cost of doing business is high, because trillions that Biden and Harris spent on climate and COVID boondoggles shot up inflation, and because of their Greeniac policies that drove up the cost of oil and gas. So responding with price controls is like dropping kerosene on an open flame. The woman's going to burn down the entire economy with this idea. Yet her advisors think that you're as dim-witted as she apparently is, because she believes that women are going to jump on board the argument that there are vulture capitalists in the grocery business that are just waiting to rob you blind and that only she can stop them. But let's look at these supposedly obscene profit margins. Kroger's is 1.43% for April. Where was it in April 2020? 1.66%. That's the new profit margin. Yeah, and just for the sake of comparison, Apple's most recently reported profit margin is 26.61%. So, okay, is she going to set the price of iPhones and MacBooks next? I mean, how far can those prices rise? Government's going to step in? Well, maybe not because they're her friends, but I would not be surprised if they tried to slap controls on oil companies next and their pricing. Of course, that's exactly what Venezuela moved to. And after all, then the government there just took over the companies. And state control of everything is their ultimate goal.
The Biden administration has been putting pressure on some of the companies, which, frankly, is what we're going to hear some of from Vice President Harris, is my understanding, in her economic speech that she plans to give on Friday. Pressure has to be put on some of these corporate entities.
Now, by pressure, she means government intervention in private businesses. And all this will do is to force companies to innovate less, build less, and cut back on supply, which is exactly what we saw during the Carter era when price controls were in place for gasoline.
As has become common in many states in the East, cars have been lining up before dawn. By the time the pumps opened, many had been waiting 2 and 3 hours for gas.
I've been here since 4:30 this morning. It's ridiculous waiting online here. I couldn't get gas Tuesday. The block was the line was about 8 blocks long. It was ridiculous. It was unbelievable waiting online. I can't take it anymore.
Even license plates went out on Monday to get gas, odds on Tuesday. I remember that. I was a little kid in the back seat there. And that brings us to the socialist other dream policy, which is rent control, which Biden endorsed in July, and Biden all but told us today would be Kamala's policy as well.
How much does it bother you that Vice President Harris might soon, for political reasons, start to distance herself from your economic
She's not
plan?
going to.
Well, rent control isn't just a bad way to address the effects of inflation. It may be one of the worst, and it's been undeniable for decades. Now, this statement is from left-wing economist Paul Krugman. This is back in 2000. The analysis of rent control is among the best understood issues in all of economics, and among economists anyway, one of the least controversial. In a 1992 poll of the American Economic Association, it found that 93% of its members agreed that a ceiling on rents reduces quality and quantity of housing. There are your shortages. But I'll grant Kamala one thing. She's correct when she says Trump wants to take us back. Because it's taking us back, all right, but it's back to the economic boom of 2019. Now, like I said earlier, we don't need to go back to the Carter era. And her socialist economic policies will make it harder for young people to grow a nest egg and grow a family.
Everything is so expensive nowadays that what do you prioritize? Like, do you prioritize eating over having a home? Do you prioritize having to pay to take a shower somewhere over getting a home?
I think my biggest stress right now is anything financial.
Now, one summer in the 1980s, I lived as a student in the former Soviet Union in Leningrad. I witnessed firsthand the effects of the policies that Kamala is now veering toward. Shortages everywhere. People standing in line for hours. So if you thought the last 3.5 years were bad under Joe, brace yourself. This will be a new nightmare if Comrade Kamala sets foot in the White House. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.